Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Thornburg. I want to review what might be happening now that RFK is now the Secretary of Health and Human Services. By the way, I'm absolutely ecstatic about this development. I think the transparency he's going to bring into the CDC and the other agencies that he controls, including the research that's coming through NIH, is going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm going to specifically focus on vaccines in this discussion. I want to note that I came out of residency and stated that I would not accept patients who did not vaccinate during the next few years. Once I started practicing, very intelligent, smart, reasonable parents started to hand me a lot of literature about their concerns with vaccines. At first, I was a little dismissive, thinking, why would somebody who is rational not hold the scientific, reasonable, logical approach? But after I received numerous different parents who were not in a coordinated effort present me data over several years, I started to take a look, and I wrote my first paper on vaccines in 2006. It was called A Global Vaccine Perspective. In this paper, I note that the vaccine schedule is different in every westernized country, and that the reason it's different is that each culture interprets the scientific literature differently. And so medicine is actually a combination of your culture plus the science. Each of these countries, all of us, review the same vaccine scientific literature, but we have a different interpretation of what that literature means. And in our country, our interpretation is that we start at birth, mandated at birth. You have to have these vaccines in order to enter daycare. You have to have them to go to school. And if you don't have them, you have to have some form of an exemption. In Europe, 75 to 80% of European countries do not mandate vaccines. I don't want to overstate this. Europeans are typically much more socialistic, so there is greater compliance with the regulatory bodies than you would naturally find here in the United States. So there is a large portion of the Europeans who do the vaccines, but I don't want to overemphasize that they're not taking the vaccines over there. And then if you look at the Japanese schedule, they have a schedule that looks just like ours. However, they don't mandate an initial start time at birth like we do. They just insist on an end time by the time the child starts school. So you'd see a drastically different interpretation of what the schedule is and how it should be interpreted as being safe. And now that RFK is going to open up the database on vaccines injuries, and we're going to look at the science that is available that they have done to see how valid that science is. We're going to look at this from an evidence-based standpoint. We're going to look at this from an outcomes research-based standpoint. We're going to look at the quality of the studies. I'm going to be happy to participate in this because there's going to have to be a lot of education because pediatricians, again, I was fortunate. I had open eyes. I was a philosophy major in college, so I enjoy the structure of arguments. I enjoy how you can apply that into scientific literature. I spent 2 years working at the Agency for Healthcare Policy and Research in Washington, D.C. while I was in medical school, so I had an opportunity to work with the physicians who decide on healthcare policy for the entire country as recommended out of the NIH. They're the think tank. And this is where I was able to kind of give rise to my difference in opinion because I used a critical eye on this, and that resulted in a difference of opinion. But of course, the rest of the pediatricians, the majority of pediatricians, aren't philosophy majors. Medical training is very militaristic. You have to give the right answer. You're kept up long periods of time. You are kind of shunned if you're not giving the correct answer. It's all about giving the correct answer as the institution says the answer should be given. So, there's obviously an understandable bias against anything that's going to challenge the status quo. And, hopefully we're going to help do this in a gentle way. I am going to give my vaccine lecture that I've been giving for the last 19 years or so. I'm going to do it online. I welcome you to invite your pediatrician to watch this. I think it would be hugely beneficial. I have had my own patients in my own practice attend the lecture and decide to fully vaccinate their children. I've had other parents take the lecture and decide not to vaccinate their children. Again, this is where we have to understand that medicine is a combination of culture and science, and everybody's going to come to that table a little bit differently. The important part is that we're going to have transparent scientific literature, thanks to RFK, thanks to opening of the available information out there. Future research will be published that is evidence-based and outcome-based. I'm really looking forward to this. And again, we have to have patience. This isn't going to be a rapid change, but I'm here to help guide, especially other physicians. I think that's hugely important. And yeah, this is exciting. Thank you.